We think Bitcoin is a really great investment, and here are the reasons why. 1 year later, the chief investment officer of this bank says, we think it's got the right properties right now to be the next global reserve currency. It's quite a radical statement for a bank. This stuff is out there, and it is starting to roll out. And the interesting thing in this cycle is that the credibility of Bitcoin is post BlackRock is skyrocketing, and so we're starting to see banks come in and offer financing on your Bitcoin, mortgage your Bitcoin, get some cash. And so you get into an interesting situation where I believe by the next cycle will be acknowledged by banks as collateral, just like you can front your MicroStrategy shares or your Apple shares. I think both the Bitcoins and shares in these types of funds can be a way of getting a Bitcoin mortgage.
Renowned Bitcoin on-chain expert Willy Woo has broken his silence in an exclusive interview, providing unique perspectives on the state of the Bitcoin market today and his audacious predictions for 2025. Even if the top cryptocurrency is getting closer to reaching new all-time highs, Willy gave an explanation of why he thinks it is still in its accumulation period in an interview with Unchained. The cryptocurrency world has been fascinated with Willy's most recent study. According to his macro Fibonacci forecasts, Bitcoin's next significant price objective may be $120,000. His prediction that Bitcoin will consolidate between $88,000 and $91,000 before starting a notable upward trajectory is expanded upon in this prediction. Willy cautions, however, that there will likely be large price swings as Bitcoin sets a new baseline during this period of extreme market volatility. As we get ready for what might be a pivotal moment for Bitcoin in 2025, Willy delves carefully into trader behavior, market mood, and the changing cryptocurrency landscape. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications for daily content and expert interviews. Now, let's hear from Willy Woo.
What are your thoughts on the current state of the Bitcoin market?
Oh, that's a broad one. It's quite every cycle. If there's one thing you can trust, is it changes, and so that hasn't changed. That I'm looking at what has changed with this market. Obviously, we had in the last cycle MicroStrategy coming in with corporate treasuries. Futures was a big part of the last cycle, and institutional hedge funds coming in. And so I think this cycle, just looking at the impacts of I think the key impacts right now, MicroStrategy going on full flight on their Bitcoin acquisition, and then the BlackRock, in particular spot ETF, but the whole broad collection of spot ETFs coming in and offering a very efficient way for TradFi to buy in. And so that's really changing the structure of the market. So looking at that type of impact, and you can see also, I'm looking at just how heavily hit the altcoin base has been with so much capital coming into Bitcoin, not necessarily rotating into altcoins, and just how absent retail has been in this cycle. It looks like they're just starting to come in the last 4 or so weeks, but it's been a ghost town. So yeah, just very interesting to see how much of each, the structure of each cycle is changing, and probably the hidden side is I'm kind of figure out if more of the sovereigns will come in, and maybe they are coming in, but quietly. This stuff is out there, and it is starting to roll out. And the interesting thing in this cycle is that the credibility of Bitcoin is post BlackRock is skyrocketing, and so we're starting to see banks come in and offer financing on your Bitcoin. Mortgage your Bitcoin, get some cash. Your Bitcoin's climbing at 20 to 80% annualized. Your interest rate might be 6% if you're tapping into TradFi loans. And so you get into an interesting situation where, even these yield products now, because they are actually shares and hedge funds, I believe by the next cycle will be acknowledged by banks as collateral, just like you can front your MicroStrategy shares or your Apple shares at a brokerage and borrow US dollars. I think both the Bitcoins and shares in these types of funds can be a way of getting a Bitcoin mortgage. So it's like the best bet on the planet, and even today, we've still got at least a 10x, 20x to go. And the chances of it winning are, I think well north of 90%. So it's just a ridiculous investment proposition. And I agree, it's just really quite different to see it all happening, to see these guys like Larry Fink talk about Bitcoin as the future. I came back from Switzerland just last month, and I posted, the chief investment officer of a boutique private bank. I go there every year because we're partnered with this bank, and last year it was, we think Bitcoin is a really great investment, and here are the reasons why. 1 year later, the chief investment officer of this bank says, we think it's got the right properties right now to be the next global reserve currency. It's quite a radical statement for a bank.
The story of Bitcoin has changed significantly, and it is no longer only banking executives who are paying attention. Despite more than 15 years of skepticism and criticism of the cryptocurrency sector, even conventional financial institutions such as Barron's are increasingly recognizing the potential of Bitcoin. Bitcoin might gain a great deal from Donald Trump's possible return to the White House. It points out that since the launch of Bitcoin ETF options, mood and trading activity have been more optimistic, driving Bitcoin to all-time highs. The risk reversal technique, which entails selling a put and purchasing a call with the same expiration but a higher strike price, is one tactic that investors are employing more and more. For instance, aggressive investors may sell a March $30 put and purchase a March $60 call for roughly $5.8, while the price of the Bitcoin ETF is around $54. This approach might yield a 46% return if the ETF hits $80, which would be a far higher percentage gain than just owning Bitcoin. Curiously, analysts like Willy Woo are still hopeful that Bitcoin may rise well above these price points before the current cycle concludes in 2025. But that's not all. Let's get back and hear what Willy Woo has to say.
Where do you think we're at in the current cycle? Yeah, is it still just getting started? Are we potentially going to hit gold parity maybe even next year, or is it already in the later innings? How would you frame it?
I'd be surprised if we hit gold parity this cycle. But who knows? I know my friend Samson Mao thinks definitely 1 million this cycle. And of course, he's going around the world convincing nation states to buy this as a strategic reserve. And so maybe he sees something I don't. I haven't actually talked on the details of that. Structurally where we are, we haven't broken all-time highs. Sorry, we have, but we haven't broken the key 100,000. We broke the all-time high, but we didn't actually. Yeah, I think of us as still in this sort of reaccumulation phase of the market. You kind of get the bottom of the bear. You do this sort of first upwards to confirm you're out of the bear market, and then it sort of chops around sideways as people reaccumulate coins, and then eventually it's full-on bull market, and then you get the top and the first of the bear. Right? These are the phases I think of. We're still in reaccumulation phase, that's without a doubt. And in that phase is anything can happen. It can chop around wildly. We break all-time highs. Went from 70 now to almost 100 in no time flat, consolidating underneath that by the looks. But sure, it can go past 100,000. We have our party, and then the whole thing could come back down to 70. All sorts of things can happen in the zone. Remember last cycle, it was like, whoa, we got past 10,000, everyone's feeling bullish, and then COVID hit and we dropped down to 4 very quickly, came back to 10, spent a lot of time at 10 before it sort of coiled up enough to really make its run. So the question is, what happens when we really make our run? And when will that be? And it's certainly not right now. It's still, like, in my opinion, relatively safe to buy in this phase of the market and reaccumulation because it hasn't made its run. And I have a risk signal that we use internally for our hedge fund, but it's really measuring how much capital is flowing into the network, and then estimating liquidity conditions of the market. And the thing is, the risk, it measures the risk on that. Right, so the risk of drawing down, and usually the signal starts to go to it's either a 0 to 1 signal. It's usually 0 or 1, and it transitions very quickly. It's still at 0, and it's been 0 pretty much the entire cycle. That's why I knew that we would break our all-time high without a doubt. But once it goes to 1, you got a few months before the thing tops, and we haven't even gone to 1 yet. So still, I think we're still warming up. And of course, as everyone who's been following this know that it's likely going to be in the tail end of next year before we get that full-blown bull cycle. I expect the risks to then start to climb as everyone goes DGN and everything starts to explode. But for now, it's still reaccumulation. Maybe we get past 100.
According to Willy Woo, Bitcoin is currently in the reaccumulation phase of its market cycle, which is a time after a bad market, when investors quietly stockpile coins in preparation for the next significant bull run. For market players, this phase is a moment of opportunity and unpredictability because it frequently exhibits sideways price moves and high volatility. When questioned about whether Bitcoin would hit gold parity about $500,000 or perhaps higher, Willy Woo said he was skeptical of such ambitious goals this cycle. Willy is cautious, but others, like Samson Moe, are more hopeful, pointing to an $1 million possibility and strategic nation-state adoption. He stresses that although Bitcoin has surpassed earlier all-time highs, it hasn't completely broken important thresholds like $100,000. Willy also makes use of historical analogies, citing instances such as the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, when Bitcoin had a sharp drop but recovered more robustly than before. These trends demonstrate the market's capacity to bounce back and pave the way for more gains. According to Woo, the full-blown bull market is probably going to emerge by the end of 2025. As we reflect on Woo's insights, what do you think about Bitcoin's current position? Are we still in the early stages of this cycle, or is a breakout closer than anticipated? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more expert insights. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.